Now, would you look at that menu screen? I played Ori and the Blind Forest quickly when it came out back in 2015, but I never got around to play the sequel. I was hoping that they would still be able to capture the same atmosphere and feelings as the first game did, and already just by looking and listening to the title screen, I have to say that I'm impressed. Moon Studios with composer Gareth Cooker manages to give me the same relaxed and almost zen-calm feeling. And it may not come as a surprise that this game was nominated to a bunch of awards, like Best Visual Design at the Golden Joystick Awards and Best Score and Music at the Games Awards. After its release and with scores like 9 out of 10 from IGN and a 90 out of 100 from Metascores, with an 8.9 user score, I had to ask myself the questions: is it as good as people are making it out to be? And what have I been missing out on? Warning: from this point on, there will be spoilers ahead. If you haven't played this game and want to experience the full experience of this game, pause this video and return back to it after you have played the game. This is your last warning. My first thoughts were that I'm overjoyed that they kept the same art style and graphics as the first game. Something about the visuals of this game could almost give me some flashbacks to Rayman Origins. This might be because I'm thinking that they have had to make much of this art style by hand. I also think it's because of how the scenes are structured, with the camera being able to pan in or out with objectives then moving in or out of frame. Simply put, how the foreground and background cooperate to create this illusion of a camera panning further into the scene. All of this 2D magic giving the player an almost 3D feeling. The music is still giving me almost goosebumps. I'm thrilled that they've stayed with Gareth Cooker for this game as well, since I think he did an amazing job on the first one. Music has always been a tool for game designers, developers, to enhance the experience they want the player to have, and in this game they really nail it. From the calm, melancholy menu theme to the more fast-paced, chaotic chase theme when escaping from a boss, or how about the uplifting, bright background song when watching Ori and the Owl's time with the family? Now, I have to admit that I don't remember the complete story of Ori and the Blind Forest, but this sequel seems to take place not long after the first game. I'm not going to tell you the whole story from A to Z, but a short summary might be in order. The main plot of Ori and the Will of Wisps can be summarized as Ori's mission to heal the broken land of Niven, by returning this light back to the big tree. It seems like Ori and the Will of Wisps got a darker theme set for this game, since not only 10 minutes in, you and your owl brother get separated from Naru and Gumu, the rest of your weird family. And after playing as a combination of both Ori and Ku, which is the name of the owl, it doesn't take long for also Ori and Ku to get separated. So after almost 15 minutes into this game, Ori has lost both of his parents and his adoptive brother. Don't worry though, you will find back to Ku after the first boss. However, it takes about 5 more minutes for Ku to then get into a coma. Now, if this isn't a darker game than the first game, I don't know anymore. So after all of this, the game can finally start and you're now free to explore. On your journey, you get accompanied by Zane, which is the name of the guardian wisp following you around, kinda like Navi from The Legend of Zelda. I found that Zane wasn't doing much other than filling in some gaps in the story throughout the playthrough. Well, especially since Ori isn't a talkative character. And I think the developers knew that they had to have something like Zane in the game. Something that could drive the story forward. Anyway, now the game plays like a typical Metroidvania type of game, going to one place, beating the boss, moving on to the next place, beating the next boss, and so on. Even though the game gives you some freedom, in my opinion, Ori and the Will of Wisp is actually a pretty linear game. Ori and the Will of Wisps plays as a 2D puzzle platformer game with action bits throughout the game. And for reference, I play the game with an Xbox controller, so that is also what I'm basing my experience on. They added a lot of different skills for Ori in this game versus what they did in the first one. And I did enjoy that a lot. Having the ability to change skills throughout the game based on what the player enjoy using and what you actually need for certain bits gives the player some freedom to make the playthrough more of their own. Fancy fast and light attacks? No problem. Want to have a big sledgehammer and use heavy attacks that takes longer? Well, you can do that as well. Or how about using a bow from a distance and take out enemies before you are in their face? Well, you can do that as well. This freedom to play the game more like you want to makes it much more enjoyable in my opinion. However, a returning feature is to teleport between these spirit fountains, and with a game of this size, it's a necessary one. Not often did I find myself backtracking the whole way from point A to B if I could teleport to a fountain that was closer to my objective. Even though I never felt like I had to try and find one of these fountains to heal myself back up or recharge myself, since there are plenty of ways to heal up or recharge yourself throughout this game. So mainly you're going to be using these fountains for saving and teleportation. Throughout the game, I have to say that they are also balancing between fast-paced gameplay and more exploration almost perfectly in my opinion. During some of the more fast-paced parts of the game, I found myself so focused on completing the task at hand, for instance escaping from the beast in Inkwater Marsh, that I actually missed out on a lot of beautiful graphics. Some old mechanics have been transferred over to this game from the first one. For instance, you will still be able to find these combat shrines, which gives you the option to fight waves of enemies. These shrines were kind of what gave me the most challenge throughout this game. A new feature which I found fun was the new spirit trials, which basically are like time trials. Completing these trials, the player are rewarded with spirit lights, which is the in-game currency for upgrading your abilities or buying stuff. You also obtain these spirit lights by completing quests or defeating enemies, so I never found it difficult to buy what I wanted or having to farm for long periods of time to buy a new map or upgrading a skill. And with a skill that increases Ori's attack damage based on how many spirit lights you got on you, might indicate a little bit that they have been on a little too generous side with the spirit lights. Well, at least if you play the game like I did.
Well, we're closing in on the ending, and this shouldn't come as a big surprise that there will be spoilers now. And I also did put the warning at the beginning of this video, so don't come blaming me for spoiling the end of this beautiful game. Now, some of you may already know what's coming, because I would kinda say that the whole theme of this game sets it up. After collecting all of the spirit balls and merging them together, you will have to return this giant spirit ball to the big tree to save the land of Niven. After almost completing this task, you get ambushed by Shriek, which is the big hawk bird thing, and the last epic fight can begin. And let me just say, the last phase of this fight was a pain in the ass. Having to use multiple of our skills just to stay in the air, but also having to fight in the air was a bit of a challenge for me. Well, after winning the last fight, Ori gets knocked down and seems to be on the brink of death, indicated by the memories playing in the background. After crawling forward and falling over, it may seem like Ori has thrown in the towel. But wait, the spirit ball returns and merges with Ori, making Ori the new world tree, keeping the land of Niven safe again.
In my opinion, this is a game where the developers took what they nailed in the first game and added much more that I liked in the second game. As I said earlier, much isn't changed in the graphics or music, but why change a winning strategy? I like the more dark theme and the way this game takes on a new theme. As I mentioned earlier, the graphics reminds me of Rayman Origins, and they could quickly have made this game into a more goofy or lighthearted game. However, they went for something else, which I enjoyed so much. I also enjoy stories that doesn't have the typical happy ending, which many games and movies do have nowadays. Don't get me wrong, I don't consider this a bad ending, just not the typical happy ending we might want. Ku gets back with the rest of the family, Ori survives, kinda, and the rest of the family does reunite with both Ku and Ori. And by the looks of it, they actually live the rest of their lives together and happy. So this is kind of a happy ending, but maybe not the happy ending we actually pictured. The game took me about 12 hours to complete, and that is with doing some side quests along the way, but not focusing on trying to 100% complete the game on my first run. This game does offer some value for going back into it and completing more of the side quest, but not enough for me to actually bother to do it. So, have I been missing out on a stunner of a game? Without a doubt. Having this game just sitting in my backlog for so many years is such a shame.